Britney Spears' father, Jamie, has agreed to step down as conservator of the singer's estate. It's still not clear when he'll actually step aside, but Jamie Spears says he should be praised for the job he's done, not vilified. Kaylee Hartung has the latest.
Hey, hey! Ho-ho! The conservatorship has got to go!
This morning, a major victory for Britney Spears in her fight for freedom from her father's control. After 13 years, a stunning reversal. Jamie Spears agreeing to step down as conservator of her estate once conditions are met. A court filing from his attorney saying Mr. Spears intends to work with the court and his daughter's new attorney to prepare for an orderly transition to a new conservator. Britney finally getting what she's begged the court for after telling a judge she'd been traumatized and demoralized by the conservatorship and wants to sue her father for abuse. In the fallout of that bombshell testimony in late June, Jamie refusing to give up control. And even with this filing, his counsel writing, there are in fact no actual grounds for suspending or removing Mr. Spears as the conservator of the estate. And it is highly debatable whether a change in conservator at this time would be in Miss Spears' best interests. Matthew Rosengart, Spears' new lawyer, will work with Jamie Spears to solidify his replacement. Rosengart telling ABC News, it is vindication for Britney. Rosengart made it clear from day one on the job, his top priority was ousting Jamie from the director's chair of Britney's financial decisions.
Less than 2 weeks ago, we pledged that after 13 years of the status quo, my firm and I would move aggressively and expeditiously to file a petition to suspend and remove James P. Spears.
The former federal prosecutor also adding in a statement, we look forward to continuing our vigorous investigation into the conduct of Mr. Spears and others over the past 13 years, while he reaped millions of dollars from his daughter's estate. Britney's team has argued Jamie spent more than $500,000 of his daughter's money in the last year alone on his own PR efforts. Jamie has refuted all claims of any wrongdoing as his daughter's conservator. This morning, the pop star appearing one step closer to making the movement Free Britney take on a whole new meaning. Diane, this is not effective immediately, and there's no timeline for when Jamie Spears steps aside yet. But make no mistake, this is a big win for Britney. Removing Jamie from his position of power is a step forward in this long process of her regaining control of her life. But her counsel wants to take it a step farther. Britney has said she wants to see her dad in jail. There is an ongoing investigation, and her attorney Matthew Rosengart telling ABC News he looks forward to taking Jamie Spears' deposition as soon as possible. Diane.
All right, getting interesting. Kaylee Hartung, thank you. And I'd like to bring in family attorney and former psychologist David Glass for more on this. David, at her conservatorship hearings, Britney Spears said that she wanted her father removed as conservator, but the timeline of when he'll actually step down now still isn't clear. So what happens now? How does this all play out?
Well, what happens next is that he's probably going to work with Britney's attorney to try and figure out who the professional fiduciary who's going to come in and take over the estate. They're going to need to transfer financial records. They're going to need to go over her budget, the investment plan. All of that could be done by September 29th when this case comes back to court, if all the parties can get along.
Why do you think he's agreed to step down now after all this time, 13 years?
Diane, I think this is a situation that I saw often when I was a psychologist, where you have a family member helping out someone who's in need. At some point, they get to their limit of taking abuse. So for 13 years, Jamie feels like he's done the right thing for Britney. He brought her out of near bankruptcy. He brought her up to having $60 million in her estate. And yet lately, all the complaints have been about him and about how he's doing his job wrong. So at some point, every family member gets to the point where they throw up their hands and say, you know what, I've done the best I can. Now it's up to you and whoever you choose to go forward. I think that's where Jamie has gotten to.
But this doesn't mean the conservatorship itself is over, which ultimately is what Britney has said that she wants. So what happens next for Britney now?
You're right. This is only the first step. Moving her father out of the conservatorship doesn't get rid of the whole conservatorship. And that becomes the hard problem for Britney and her attorneys. This is the low-hanging fruit. She needs to show that she has regained her capacity, that she's no longer suffering from mental illness, that she has the capacity to make all sorts of decisions for herself. That's the hardest part of the case for Britney.
And how much do you think the Free Britney movement impacted this case? They've had an influence, obviously, in bringing it into the spotlight, but do you think they've had an influence on some of the legal issues that have happened?
I think the Free Britney movement has had an impact in this case. The case has been moving much faster than most cases in probate court. The judge feels compelled to move this along as quickly as possible. I think the second way that the Free Britney movement has impacted the case is it put an enormous amount of pressure on her father so that he was being lambasted in the press on a daily basis. And that just became too much for him. So the Free Britney movement has absolutely had an effect on this case. I don't know whether they're going to be able to move it forward in terms of her being able to prove her capacity, though.
All right, David Glass, always great to have you. David, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.